The 22nd Amendment. Trump came out there with a hat on, Trump 2028. It's funny because George Washington started this in 1796 when he politely declined a third term as president. It was only changed after, I believe it was Franklin Roosevelt, was elected successfully to a fourth term as president. At that time, the 22nd Amendment was enacted. Now, the issue I have with that is the body of the U.S. Constitution states clearly it's the government of the people, by the people, for the people, the will of the people. So, putting the 22nd Amendment on directly goes against that part of the Constitution. So, if we want, the people want a president for a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, eighth term, then based on that, we should be allowed to have that, provided that they win the election. I think winning the election is key to the key element to a fair and balanced election. The problem is that in this country today, the election process has gotten so dirty, so corrupt, so infiltrated, if you will, that it's impossible to have a fair election. Now, my personal opinion, let's take away women's right to vote. Let's take away anyone's right to vote that does not own land. And by land, I mean real estate. And no limit on how much real estate or how big the real estate is, but you have to own or be purchasing a home, property, land, cattle land, anything, then and only then do you have the right to vote. The main reason I feel that way, going back to that far, is you go to your local Walmart and just go in the front. They all have these little benches in the front that you can sit at. Go sit down. Don't say anything to anybody. Just sit. Place your phone in your pocket, turn it on vibrate, turn it on silent, leave it in your car, and watch. Watch the people. And you'll understand very, very soon why I say let only landowners vote. And it's nothing against my fellow American. It's where the system, where the matrix, the system, the machine put them. The school board, public school system has failed millions and millions of people. The blowing apart of the nuclear family, the mom, dad, and home, has also failed and caused a massive rift. Because then who raises the kids? TV, the streets, the neighbor. And the problem with that is, what if the TV shows, or what if the neighbor, or the teacher, or the after-school program doesn't have the correct morals or ethics? Or what if they have improper motives? Because mind you, in the 1950s, the Board of Education was infiltrated by communists, and their ultimate goal was to destroy the United States. And they knew there was no way, at that time at least, that they could take over the United States through military action, so destroy it from within. And excuse me, it is my belief that if Trump continues to deplete the arms with Iran, with the bombs, and sending them to Ukraine, which ironically has completely disappeared from the news cycle. It's all Israel, Netanyahu, Iran, Libya, all that stuff taken over now. So the problem I have now is, if Trump were to deplete that, some country out there is going to assume, hey, they can take us. And the issue is if they were to attack by air, I feel confident that they could do that. They could take over the country if they were to invade by air. If they were to invade by land, I think the average citizen, registered and unregistered gun owners, would defend the country. It almost feels like, whether it's China or Japan, I don't really think it's Japan, I think more China, Russia, maybe, promise Congress kickbacks or a role in the new United States government, if they allowed them to take over. The reason I say that is there are people, active members of, they're in their 80s and 90s, but that have been in the government, since the 60s. And they're in their 80s and 90s today, so the whole infiltration by the KGB and by the communists doesn't really come into play with them. However, their net worth sure does. And that just means they were bought and paid for. And you can limit the presidency to a week, but if you don't change the governing body, you end up with one of those wet, saggy diapers, the kind that you see the kids in June and July and August running around down to their ankles. Needs changed. Kids having too much fun. Mom doesn't really worry about it too much. That is kind of what we have in the Senate right now. The House, the Senate, that's what we have now, is just a wet, full, saggy diaper. So those positions need turned as well. Mitch McConnell is a perfect example. Dianne Feinstein died after a stroke. She couldn't even talk, but yet she was allowed to finish out her term. Lindsey Graham died in office, and his sister was appointed to finish his term. How does that work exactly? It's my understanding if it's an elected position and you vacate the office for whatever reason, then there needs to be a special election. But no, they just appoint someone. See, that's how communism works. It's how it gets started. And they're getting more and more brazen about how they do it. Now, I feel confident that putting this video out probably is going to put me on a list. The video may even get taken down. But I guess as of right now, we have the right to free speech. We have the right to talk and question our government, peaceful assembly, peaceful protest, not like the Summer of Love where it's mostly peaceful. Dare I say more like January 6th, but see, the problem is the media and the Capitol Police were in on the fact that they wanted it to blow apart, and they wanted the MAGA base or the Republican or the right or the constitutionalists or the nationalists to be violent, and so they've tried to portray it that way in the news, and they've turned it into insurrection. Now, dare I say that most of the Trump voters, if you look at the guns in this country, there are more registered guns than the entire U.S. military and the police forces. Okay, the U.S. citizens registered guns outgun them. Again, registered guns. So, if there really truly wanted to be an insurrection or a takeover, if you will, I'm pretty sure it would happen. It wouldn't be televised, but it would. January 6th was a far cry from what an insurrection is. If things don't change, I'm not saying there's going to be a civil war like you think. Civil war, the images that brings up, nor do I think it's going to be an insurrection again, like what's going to pop up in your head. That entire day, During the insurrection, only one person died. Her name was Ashley Babbitt. She was murdered by a member of a security detail. They won't say that. They won't admit that, but that's what happened. Um, the other people were, dare I say, people who were going to come out against and blow their whistle. We have a representative. I say representative. It may, I may have it wrong. It may be governor or senator or something like that. But I'm pretty sure it's a representative. Anyway, his name is Fetterman. He's from Pennsylvania, and I think that he's a Democrat. He ran and was elected on that. But I think the Democratic Party has completely left him where he was at. So he's, air quote, going to change parties. Now, the problem I have with that is the two-party system in this country is so corrupt. It doesn't matter the letter after the name anymore. Everybody is so corrupt, so bought and paid for, so just corrupt that there's no two-party system anymore. There's one party, uniparty, if you will, or whatever you want to call it, but two heads, one snake, two heads, one body. Two heads, one monster. A truly independent party needs to be established. The problem is the system or the machine will not allow any independent to not to run. They'll be able to run, but they won't let them on the debate stage. They won't let them to state their claims that way. The last chance in my lifetime up till now that we had for an independent to run and to win was Ross Perot. Now, Perot would have won had he not stepped aside. He decided, I'm not going to. And then he came back and ran again. The problem was in doing that, he took enough votes and handed the election to the opposing party. So, and again, nothing in this happens by mistake. It's all planned out. But obviously there's ways around the system disruptor, which would have been Trump the first term. Trump now is more of a, I don't know if he's body double or what, but it's definitely a speaking head, and he shows very little concern about the midterms. He tends to think more along the lines of, well, look at what I did. I ended the war with I ran the Straits open. The Strait of Hormuz is open, and we closed. Sorry, it's not the point. You don't need to be sorry for it. You need to leave it alone. Everything was going good until he listened to Netanyahu. And call me an anti-Semite, if you will, but it's true. Historically, Hitler didn't go into that with the intent of exterminating the Jews. A couple reasons for that. One, there's no mass graves. Two, there's no trace of the chemical on the walls of the gas chambers. Three, while of the begging and pleading of Hitler to get a peace deal before the invasions. Why did the population number increase during that regime? The other funny thing is, but off the top of my head, the Nazi Party stood for the National Working Party, who was tired of big government, the way it was ran, the way it was being ran, the filth, the smut, the LGBTQ LGBTQ, the trans, the queers, burning books that were being taught in school to children that had no business being in there. Like, you know, I'm there's a picture of a dude going, I'm a woman and I can have a period. That doesn't stop. Okay, look. If you're a guy that makes you feel important to walk around in women's underwear, then do it. Fine, do it. You know, whatever. But don't you dare stand in front of me or try to get to the women's room or whatever when you're clearly a guy and you're hell bent on going in there after I watch my wife go to the bathroom, my daughter go in, because I won't stand there and tell them I identify as a security system. And if they try to go around me, then I'm going to identify as a gate, sure, farm gate. And it basically what's going to end up is he's going to end up off his horse on the dirt, out of his car in the dirt, whatever. Just quit. I think it is the overall thing. Just state your position, state your reason. If you truly believe that, be prepared to defend it and or answer questions about it. The funny thing is in life, when you think you've got it together and you start to exude that confidence, that's typically when it falls apart. That's typically when your palms get sweaty, your grip lessens, you let go. So, you know, make a plan. Try to account for what ifs, sideball attacks. Open criticism to your face, criticism behind your back, but pick a course. Nobody else has to agree with your decisions but you. And stick it out.